Good evening, my fellow Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Big Dave, bringing you your predicted lineup as Tottenham welcome Luton down to N17 as we look to get our Champions League hunt back on track. And it's business end of the season, 10 games to go. It's do or die, put up or shut up, no place to turn or hide. So hopefully we can go on a good run, and this is a must-win game for Tottenham Hotspur. We cannot afford to drop any more points against teams like Luton. Although we shouldn't take Luton lightly, we should respect them. They've given it a good ding-dong this season. And it'd be interesting to see what sort of lineup Postecoglou decides to choose, given that it's such a short turnaround for the West Ham game on Tuesday. Does he decide to go full strength, look to get the job done nice and early, and hopefully buck the trend of not scoring in the first half and look to put Luton to the sword early on so we can drag players off and get them rested for the West Ham game? Or does he make changes and hold players back for the West Ham game? So interesting to see what Postecoglou does tomorrow, but this is the lineup that I think Postecoglou should go with in order to take home all 3 points. And we will start with Guglielmo Vicario, who, despite conceding 3 goals last time out against Fulham, should actually come into this game full of confidence off the back of making his debut for Italy and keeping a clean sheet in the process, and hopefully can get a few clean sheets for us in these final 10 games. One thing to potentially look out for is, with Luton being a wounded animal, up to 9 to 10 players out missing for this game, they will look to avail of set pieces, especially corners. They've been a good threat from corners this season. Big boys in there who throw themselves at the ball, and potentially, and they might look to target Vicario a bit like what Everton and Man City have done earlier on in this season. So it's something that he needs to be switched on and be alert to, be aware of, and if needs be, if he needs help, call in the reinforcements to give him a dig out. At left back, Destiny Udogie retains his place. Was absolutely awful against Fulham, losing 60% of his ground duels and was dribbled past 3 times, which is a rarity for Destiny Udogie so far this season. However, there is an outside chance that he can make that Italy squad in the Euros, and he will have to have a stellar last 10 games of the season. And I do back Destiny Udogie to get back to his very best here against Luton, and hopefully we'll see more of him on the offensive rather than defensively. And left back should be one of the positions on the summer transfer list. He really does need competition, but also just the ability to be able to rotate him so that we're not overusing him like we have done to players in years gone by. We've been very lucky this season that he's been available more often than not. At right back, Pedro Porro will retain his place despite him being absolutely atrocious against Fulham last time out, defensively and offensively. He should come into this game though with a bit of confidence after making a couple of appearances for Spain over the international break. For me lately, I think he's gone back into his shell, especially in terms of what he used to offer us going forward. And for me, I really want to see him grab a leadership role in that regard over these next 10 games, as we will need him. This guy can add real variety to our attacking play. Rather than everything always go through Maddison, someone like Pedro Porro has the ability to take the burden and some of the brunt off Maddison and add a different sort of dynamic or a bit of variety to our attacking play, with the sort of passing range that he possesses, with the crossing ability he possesses, but also with some of the shots that he possesses as well. He's a real goal threat. Lastly, I'd also argue next season we should look to bring in another right back to compete with Emerson and free Pedro Porro of his defensive responsibilities and push him further up the field to affect games a lot more, a bit like what we've done with Gareth Bale all them years ago, and really harnessed his attributes, which is his creative play, his technical abilities, like I said, his passing range, his crossing, his shooting, and look to drag that more out of him, and whether that's at right wing or at centre midfield. But I do think it's an option for us going forward next season. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on that. At right-sided centre-back, it is the Argentinian assassin, and he will have to live up to his name here, as he will be up against, probably, I would hazard a guess, Morris, who is a big boy, likes to throw his weight around, and Luton will look to ping the ball to him at every opportunity, get him to hold it up, bring others into play. So Romero will have to be aware of that and try and stop the ball at source and not allow him that time to be able to take it down and bring others into play. I'd also argue that he really missed Van de Ven alongside him last week. So it would be really interesting to see who Postecoglou does pick to play beside him. But I do think Postecoglou will pick Mickey Van de Ven and bring him back in. Now, personally, I'd rather hold Van de Ven back and keep him for the West Ham game. For me, that's more important. We should still be able to beat the likes of Luton with someone like Dragusin in the team. But the reason why I think he might take out Radu Dragusin is last time out against Fulham, in the early stages, he was looking to try and get that ball to Brennan Johnson, and he ended up putting a few balls into the stand, a bit like what Eric Dyer used to do, and it really does unsettle everyone else around you, make everyone else nervous. And for me, I don't think we can afford that heading into this Luton game, so I do think on that basis he will bring in Van de Ven. But I'd also argue with Van de Ven's pace, we all know he's absolutely lightning. Flash, we like to call him around here. I do feel like he probably could have maybe stopped one or two of them Fulham games if we had him, especially because that pace allows us to play that high line with great effect. However, if Radu Dragusin does get selected, one thing I'd say to him, just maybe to calm his nerves, because I think that was his biggest problem against Fulham, is we signed you for a reason because we think you're a very good player and a very competent player. So get out there and showcase your ability and forget about nerves. Now's not the time for it. Now's the time for you to go out there and showcase your talents to the world. No better league to do it in. No better time to do it in. Get out there and put on your best display. At the base of midfield, I would have said after Basuma's display against Fulham, give Højbjerg his opportunity. However, his quotes over the international break about his lack of game time, I do think Ange will double down in his belief that Basuma's the right man, put him back out there again, and now it's up to Basuma to repay the fate shown in him. Now, the problem I do think we have with Basuma in this deep role is he either doesn't have a passing range or he chooses not to display it. And everyone knows what he's going to do. He's either going to look to dribble it out from the back or play a short pass around into one of the midfielders or the fullbacks. And what it does, it gives the opportunity to press up really high, squeeze that midfield, squeeze his passing options, and also get pressure straight on Basuma and turn the ball over. So Basuma now has two options. He can either learn to become an immovable option like Moussa Dembele, become a bit stronger, spend a bit more time in the gym, and also learn how to hold off the opposition and protect that ball a lot more, or put the extra yards in the training ground, stay back a couple of hours, start pinging the passes around and develop that passing range and come up with the solution to the problem. In the number 8 role, Postecoglou has two options here. He can either stick with Papa Matar or go with Rodrigo Bentancur. However, Rodrigo Bentancur hasn't hit the heights that he once hit before his injury on his return, and I do think that Postecoglou will stick with Papa Matar here. Now, a rare off display from Papa Matar last week, gave away the possession a number of times. However, I do expect him to get back to his best here against Luton. One thing that is bugging me, though, is you look at all the praise that Kobbie Mainoo was getting at Man United. Well, I'm sorry, but Papa Matar has been doing it longer this season. He's been doing it all season. He's been turning over the ball all season in midfield. Why doesn't he get the recognition that he deserves? I feel like he's been better than Mainoo. Is it because he plays for Tottenham Hotspur? Media, get respect on Papa Matar's name. Onto the number 10 role in the midfield, the guy tasked with the creativity, and it is a no-brainer because Lo Celso is not an option for me. We have to stick with James Maddison. However, he is really irritating me on his return from injury. He's had more than long enough now to start putting in better performances, more commanding and demanding performances from James Maddison. He quite hasn't reached that, and there's no more excuses for him anymore. He's had long enough, like I've said. For me, I want to see him start getting on the ball like some of the elite midfielders in the world at every opportunity. And when he gets that ball, start probing. Stop playing it safe. Stop shirking your responsibility. Now, he did make an assist for Jude Bellingham's equaliser against Belgium for England over the international break. So hopefully he can feed off that confidence, bring it back to Tottenham Hotspur and be that locksmith, because we will need it massively against Luton, who I am expecting to play 3 at the back with 2 wing-backs. So more effectively a 5 at the back with a lot of players behind the ball. So we really need him to step up now. I'd also argue if he wants to make that plane in the summer for the Euros, and more so to start in 11 and not be content with being a bench rider, he really needs to put in his best performances now over these next 10 games and find a real run of consistency. Moving into the forward line, and I will start with right wing because I think it's the least controversial for you guys out there, and I will be bringing back in Dejan Kulusevski, who did have a very good international break, and hopefully he can bring that confidence back to Tottenham Hotspur. I would love to see him get back to the player that we first signed when he was posting numbers similar to Saka. And look, for me, it's not for the wanted trying, just what he's doing is not working out, and like that, he needs to adapt, learn to add more bits and pieces to his game and become a lot more clinical in the final third, a bit like the elite wingers do. However, he does have that potential. I wouldn't ask it off him if I didn't believe he did. At left wing, Brennan Johnson was absolutely atrocious against Fulham last week, didn't complete any of his dribbles, and I'd argue if you had Son in some of the positions and time and space that he had running at his opponents, Son would have created a lot lot more from that left wing position. And on that basis, I throw him back out here. Now, there is a narrative around that Son is getting on in age and he can't perform at left wing the way he has done in previous years, which for me, I think is an absolute load of nonsense. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The reason why Son isn't producing the same numbers off the left as he has done in previous years is because he doesn't have the link up that he's had with Kane over the last previous years. It will affect these numbers. And I do think everyone's trying to shoehorn him into being our striker. But for me, I think we need his creativity more than what we need is a finishing ability. Richarlison has shown this season that he can put the ball in the back of the net if you provide him with good chances. So for me, and especially in this game with Fulham playing 5 across the back, we need Son at his creative best. I do feel when we shoehorn him up front, especially against teams that don't play the high line, they like to play a low block. They block up the middle and effectively they take Son out of the game. So for me, we need him, especially for this game, on left wing. And that brings me up to the guy up front. And all I'm going to say here is, when we had Harry Kane and Son, our two best sources of goals, there was no arguing about who should play one or the other. And for me, I don't want to hear it anymore with these two guys. We've got 10 games left to go. Goals is of the essence. Points on the board is of the essence. And for me, you have to play your two top scorers this season. You have to find a way of getting them into the team. And for me, this is the best way of doing it. Richarlison out on the left is nowhere near as good as Son. You have to play him up front. He scores goals up there, and you have to get Son in the team and play him off the left wing. But I don't want to hear any more debate about one or the other. It was non-existent in years gone by with Kane and Son. And the reality is, like I said, we need to get our two top scorers in the team, and we have to find a way of doing it. So, guys, let me know your thoughts on everything that I have said here. Give me your predicted lineup in the comment section below. Do you believe Postecoglou should make more changes than maybe what I've made to the lineup here? Also, give me your pre-match thoughts and your score prediction. On your way out, please smash the like button. You wouldn't walk into someone's house without wiping your shoes on the mat. So please, that would help us out massively. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for the pre-match build-up at 11 a.m. because Tottenham are back after the boring international break. But we need to get a win. No place to hide. It's the business end of the season. Get yourselves ready and prepared. Come on, you Spurs. In the mighty hands we trust. We never stop.